Hey everyone, it's Dr. Charlie Johnson, physical therapist. In today's video, I want to talk about 8 different tweaks to change, how you're walking, such that you can continue to enjoy walking. If it's something you love to do, and maybe you're dealing with piriformis, sciatica, hip, leg, and/or back type problem. So that's my specialty. I help people with those issues all over the world find relief by teaching them how to use movement as medicine. So I want to give you a little bit of a snapshot of sort of how that might look and how you can kind of tweak what you're doing when you're walking such that you can keep doing it. So basically, again, this is my specialty. If you want information about how you might be able to connect with me or work with me, just check the links in the description below. But that being said, about half the people I work with, they love walking, but they just can't do it because it flares up their symptoms. Upon chatting with them, what happens to people in pain is that you start to associate a specific movement or activity as threatening or painful. So what happens is, right, if you like walking and then all of a sudden when you start to do it, it makes you worse. Your brain says, walking equals bad equals pain, right? So what happens then is that people just shut it down. They stop doing it. And then obviously, mental, emotional component of stopping, doing something you like to do, and something that gets your heart rate up, just feeds into kind of this negative cycle, which perpetuates the pain problem. So we want to keep you as active as possible. Again, in this video, we're going to talk about 8 tweaks to keep you walking and give you some different ways to approach it such that you might be able to find comfort and keep doing it. So here we go. We're going to walk through them step by step, one by one. Okay, so the first tweak, and I'll actually type them out here for you, okay, is something I call chunking, all right? So chunking is this idea of taking an activity and just breaking it down into more manageable chunks, right? So just get at the end of the day, your body doesn't know, if you walk for 30 minutes at one time or if you do 3 10-minute walks, all right? So just like a car, if you go 10 miles, the odometer starts at 100 miles. At the end of the day, it says 110 miles. The car doesn't know if you did 10 little trips to the dollar store right down the road, 1-mile trips, or if you did 1 10-mile run, say, to someone's house and back or whatever. So the idea is you can take that activity. Maybe you're saying, I love to walk, but every time I walk, right, it makes me worse. Well, how long are you walking for? Take that, analyze it, and say, I can walk for about 12, 15 minutes, but I usually go for 30 minutes. We'll take that and say, okay, cool. So let me cut it just short of when my symptoms are increase, and maybe you just make it a 10-minute walk, or you break it down if you want to walk for 30 minutes into 2 15-minute walks. So that's tweak number 1. Try chunking the activity, in this case, walking. So the second tweak would just be surface. So what do I mean by this? You could, try walking on the asphalt or on the road, right? And see how you feel. And then, if you notice some yuckiness creeps up, or the next time you go walking, try walking on the sidewalk, which is a little bit more flat or level. Or you could even try, say, the grass next to the sidewalk. Again, you're trying to find the yummiest surface for your body. Now, surface could also mean that you physically change the surface, the extension of you, which would be like your footwear, right? So go ahead and maybe you try shoes that are a little bit more level or have a little bit more of a heel lift, or are more supportive or less supportive. Just go ahead and test it out. Remember, if you're not testing, you're just guessing. So go ahead and try these things out and see if that can help you. So change the surface is the second tweak. So the third tweak to try is just to change the direction of walking. And what I mean by this is that, look, if you're walking on the road, then realize that the road has a slight peak in the middle, and it's slightly lower on the outsides because it's designed that way for water runoff. And what that means is that if you're walking, in a certain direction, then the outer leg is going to have to reach or kind of be a little bit longer relatively than the inner leg. And this could maybe, mess with your body position or your symptoms. So what you might want to try to do, and I'm not suggesting you break the law and, walk the wrong direction or anything like that. Don't put yourself at risk. But, if you're able to, maybe there's a back road or it's your driveway or somewhere where you can do this, try walking the other way, right? And see how that impacts your symptoms. Or maybe a safer option. Let's use the example of a beach, right? So you've got a beach here. That's the sand. And then you've got these waves, right? And let's just say that you were, again, you're there in the morning. It's like beautiful sunset. You want to walk along the beach and you decide, hey, I'm going to go right. And that's, you live by the beach and that's what you're going to do on your vacation watching this or something like that. And you start to do that, or maybe the side of a hill. Maybe if you walk your dog or you just take a walk with your significant other or something like that. Point is that if you walk this way, right, again, one leg is going to be on the downside. One leg is going to be on the upside. So maybe if you notice that's yucky, well, then go ahead and say, well, hold on a second. What if I just go this way? And then you walk this way, and then maybe you find a flat surface to walk back on. Okay. So just the idea of play around with the direction of walking as it can change, maybe the position of your hips, the position of your pelvis, your legs, etc. And it can impact symptoms. The fourth tweak to try is just position of the leg slash foot. So now look, this is less ideal because it makes you kind of walk a little bit wonky, but I'm not talking about major changes. I'm just saying just minor little micro changes to see if it can reduce your symptoms. So if you're walking, right, what you can do is you can just take your leg and just rotate it ever so slightly out. Let's just say your right leg is the one that has problems, right? Or you could take your good leg, the one that doesn't have problems, and see if that changes something on the bad side. You could rotate it ever so slightly in. And remember, I'm not asking you to do this like extreme pigeon foot or extreme duck foot, I think we call it, but just like a little bit, right? And see how that changes, what you feel. So obviously, if you rotate the leg out, that tends to also rotate the hip out a little bit. You rotate the leg in, it tends to rotate the hip in a little bit. Just something to think about. Play with it, tweak it. If you notice that it's helpful, keep doing more of it, all right? And the goal is not for forever, just enough to calm symptoms. And don't neglect the fact that if this, say the right leg is the painful leg, you might be able to also try those tweaks on the non-painful leg and see if that somehow changes the mechanics and frees up your ability to move. The fifth tweak is going to be uphill or downhill. So kind of some elevation changes. So I meet a lot of people, right, who say, walking uphill really gets me and my back and my leg pain. And if you think about it, kind of maybe makes sense, or it goes to kind of expose, a potential movement problem or motion problem, in that, they really don't like kind of being bent forward and stretching their leg out as they go up the hill. So this is somebody walking up the hill. What does it do? It kind of hinges you forward a little bit and kind of puts you into a little bit of a nerve stretch position where your nerve and the back of your leg and the muscles and the tissues in the back of the leg and the back itself have to work a little bit harder and are on a little bit more tension or stretch. It's not a good or a bad thing, but just consider that maybe going down the hill, if I can erase this guy or girl, going down the hill, you're in a little bit of a more arched back position. You're a little bit less bent forward, right? So, and you have to control it. It's a really bad drawing, okay? But you have to control it a little bit so that you're not as outstretched. In fact, you're taking shorter strides because you have to control yourself going down the hill a little bit more. So again, bad drawing, but you get the idea of one is a little bit more, kind of pushes you a little bit more forward. The other one pushes you a little bit backwards. So play with that, right? Now, obviously, if you go uphill, you might have to come downhill, but maybe you try walking downhill. Might seem a little strange, but you try walking downhill sideways. So if you're like, hey man, Charlie, I love walking uphill, but as soon as I go downhill, it really throws symptoms into a flare, then try walking sideways down the hill and then try the other way, right? So the idea is that with these tweaks is that you may be able to keep walking. You might just have to be really creative. And I want to give you some motion options, if you will. All right. So the next thing after kind of elevation changes is consider that maybe the time of day is something to tweak. So maybe you're just into a habit and you get up every morning and you go for your walk and you're just like, I just can't do that anymore. It's too yucky. Well, aside from maybe chunking it or changing the surface and all these other things, if morning is your yuckiest time of the day, right, then maybe it's not the best idea to go walking then. Obviously, if it makes you feel better, then do it. But if you notice it's yucky and that's why you're watching this video, then maybe you try it later when you notice the symptoms kind of calm down as you get up and move about. So maybe you do it at lunch. Maybe you do it in the evening, right? Maybe it'll even help you sleep later if you do it within the hour before you go to bed. So just try changing the timing of day or when you walk. It's another tweak. The seventh tweak would be changing the speed of how you're walking. So obviously, you probably have a self-selected pace. Most people walk around 2 to 2.2 miles an hour, but maybe you try walking a little bit faster. And I know a lot of people think that's kind of crazy. Like, why would that help? Well, the faster you walk, right, the quicker your feet are on the ground and off the ground. And sometimes that can reduce the amount of stress coming from the ground up through your body. We call it reducing ground reaction force, right? So because if you spend less time on the ground, well, then the ground and all those forces associated with kind of that contact point have less time to kind of take effect on the body. So maybe consider increasing it, or maybe consider slowing it down. So just try to tweak the speed. I have a bonus tweak, so we'll say 9 tweaks, so hang around in a second, would be the stride length. So again, just because you're walking faster, it doesn't mean that you increase your stride length. You could just be taking smaller strides. So maybe you try taking smaller strides and keeping roughly the same pace. Maybe you try taking longer strides and seeing if that helps. Maybe you try kind of like a shuffle walk, where instead of really thinking about lifting your legs up in power walking, you just think about just barely getting them off the ground. Try to do as little, try to walk as easy as possible. Just keep telling yourself, yeah, easy, just relax, right? See how little of effort you can put into walking, all right? So changing the stride length and kind of how you go about thinking of walking. And a final little bonus here is it's kind of like chunking, a different version of that, but try sit and then walking, right? A sort of intermittent walking, if you will. Instead of a run walk, try a sit walk, all right? That sounds better. So if you can't just chunk it because you don't have that time or whatnot, then go to a point where you start to notice symptoms and sit for just a couple minutes if you can tolerate that. And by the way, you might say, sitting's terrible. Sit on a tree trunk or something where your one bottom is off of it, or sit on the edge of a, not on the edge, but yeah, kind of sit cattywampus on the side or a corner of a bench so that your one butt cheek's hanging off so you're not putting pressure through it. The point is that, or maybe you just lean against a tree, you put your back against a tree and you just chill there, right? So the idea is maybe it's not a sit, maybe it's a stop, walk, bring it up to that point where you start to notice something, stop, refresh yourself, let symptoms calm, and go again. Stop, go again, right? And just repeat the process so you can keep doing what you want to do. So really that's 9 tweaks, just thought of a bonus there, so I'll throw that in. But again, so many people think that, you know, walking hurts, I just can't do it, but they don't have the options, meaning they don't even know what options are available to try to tweak it or change it. So these are just some creative options that I teach a lot of my clients, you know, when they're working with me, to continue to keep doing what they want to do, continue to, you know, keep the benefits of walking and their confidence up, which we know pain is just as much physical as it is, you know, mental and emotional. So walking helps a lot of people just clear their brain, and I want to keep you as active as possible. So hopefully this helps you keep doing what you want to do. If you have any questions, comments, just put them down below. If you're interested in learning more about maybe working with me, then you can go ahead and check the links in the description. And finally, if you like this video, just hit the like button and subscribe. Make sure you turn on notifications as well. Thanks so much, everyone, and we will chat soon. Take care.